Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Almost Dropouts. I'm your host, Daivik, and we're on our fourth episode. Today, I have two very special guests with me, Vyom and Sarthak. Vyom and Sarthak, you guys want to introduce yourself?
You go first, Sarthak.
Oh, I'm going first. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarthak. I used to live with Daivik and Vyom, and now we live with Vyom.
I'm Vyom, guys, and I am a student at University of Waterloo, which is where I met Daivik and Sarthak. We were roommates for a while, and now I'm living with Sarthak, and we're on our way to our engineering journey still.
Yeah. Been 4 years. We're still here.
Damn, you guys really missed me that much.
Couldn't think of a better introduction.
No, that's fair enough, man. That's the truth. Like Vyom. Huh?
I was just gonna say, everyone could probably tell by now that this one's gonna be a funny one.
Yeah.
So, like Vyom and Sarthak said, we're all three of us were in computer engineering together. And because of an internship, I decided to take a time off while these guys continue with their degrees. So they're living together while I'm off at Tesla right now. But likewise, sorry. But regardless, we have a lot of different experiences we wanted to share, and I was asking these guys if they wanted to hop on a podcast, and they said yes. So here we are. So let's you know what? Let's just start off with our experiences in general. So, we've gone through a lot in Waterloo ECE. A lot of people call Waterloo ECE one of the hardest programs in Waterloo for fair reason too. These guys are going through it right now with crazy deadlines and stuff. So I really appreciate them coming out. And it's been an interesting journey. I think to start off, let's start off with 1A or first year in general. Let's start with first year. What are some things you guys learned in first year?
Oh my God. First year. Okay.
That's always a good way to start it off.
You want to go first, Vyom?
Sure. I had no idea what the hell I was getting myself into when I started 1A. I sort of came from a mentality that I knew the stigma around this university and this program. And I knew that people said that, oh, well, this is a boring place, you can't have fun here. And it's very stressful. And, it's all about career. It's all about school. It's all about jobs, whatever. Right. I'm just going to prove everyone wrong. Screw what the hell you guys say. I got 90s in high school. I can't I'm sure I can pass with a 70 without trying and just have fun. I'm not one of these kids. I'm not one of these kids trying to be the best engineer possible or get the best job possible. I just want to have a proper university life and also get jobs on the side, and I was like, yeah, that can't be that hard, right? If I don't care about my marks too much, that should be easy. Wrong. It was fucking hard. But I'd still managed somehow to get through. I just went all out in first year and did everything that I wanted to do. There was a lot of partying, a lot of drinking.
Dude, why does this sound like an alcohol?
The usual, man. The usual first year.
Look, I was just typical university kid, and I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. And I just was conscious enough that I knew at some point I would probably want to have money, so I should go into a career that would give me money. And I was always good at math and science. I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. But along the way, I learned so much about myself. I had no freaking clue about anything. First year was a shock. First year was first time me questioning why I'm doing the things I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good same thing with me. I was always in high school. I actually defined I was always about my grades. I was one. I was known as one of those smart kids, the guy you came up to if you needed some help. And so when I came into Waterloo, I came in with the mentality that that's going to continue. 90, I got 90s in high school, so I can definitely get 90s in university. And whenever anybody was like, "Nah, man, your grades dip," I'm like, "That's not me. That's not going to happen." Like, that's some stupid people. Like, I was on that state of mind, but I was
He
coming
was
in.
referring to me.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, like that's where I was when I was coming in. I was that type of person. I think that's one of the things that first year really taught me was, who really am I? Like that question was the first thing that popped up the moment I saw that 60 on my midterm. And I know it's like, what the hell? Why is that 60 the thing that got you that question? But it was on a genuine question, because by that point in my life, I always defined myself as the guy who got grades, the smart guy in the room. And getting that shock was what made me have to reevaluate things and think, do I really want to be defined as that guy too? Like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, my whole life, I thought I wanted to do computer engineering. And here I am failing at exactly what I thought I wanted to do throughout my life. So, like, do I actually, like, it really started taking things into perspective that I don't have everything figured out. And I really don't know who I am. And I got to rediscover that. And I think that's one of the best things about first year. Best and worst things. It's one of the most painful parts as well. But
yeah,
I think, it's also one of the best things because you're doing it alongside with everybody as well. Because I think it's not only an individual experience, it's also a group experience, because everybody's going through that. Like, I know Sarthak. Sarthak, let's talk about your experience.
Like, I've been listening to you guys talking, like, I really don't know how to say anything different. Like, I went through the exact same things as you guys. Like, now I do get the name of the podcast though, like, from this conversation, but yeah, it's just yeah, like I'm an international student, so like, yeah, like, this math and stuff was pretty easy, right? So like, I came here, I was still getting like decent marks in like these math courses, but like, overall, I was struggling, and like, it was quite a bit of a change from like India. So it was really hard to make friends, I think, in first year for me. Like, I didn't even meet you guys till like second year, and I met you in like 1B, I think. Yeah, it was very weird, like, at first, because like, I felt like uh it was just me who was struggling at that time, but everybody else seemed to be doing fine. But like now it is that, like, that was not the case at all. It was just hard, like just accepting the fact that, like, no, you're not gonna get the same grades anymore. It's just, or
Yep.
even if you want to, you're gonna have to work twice as hard at least. And like, at some point it was just like, okay, like, yeah, grades are grades, but like, do they even tell me like how well I understand it? Because like, a grade on a subject like doesn't necessarily indicate your like level of understanding, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yes. No, for sure. And like, I think it's interesting. Like, everybody goes through their own struggle. Like you're saying, when you first came in, first of all, you're an international student. It's a completely new area, like, place. I know, like, you watch Hollywood movies and stuff back at home, of course, and of course, like, everybody in India knows English and all of that. But even then, it's like you have to get
yeah.
used to a
It's
place
still a
so
culture shock.
quickly.
Yeah,
It's a culture shock, and you have to ramp up. There's a different teaching style. Like in
yeah,
India, it's a lot of repeating stuff
it is.
and just repetition. While over here, it's a lot more application, and that can always be a big shock. And just in general, man. Like, I think I think similar to you, and for me as well, I used to get comfort in my
Yeah,
grades, and not having that comfort anymore is something that was a big game changer to me. But I've grown a lot because of that, and I'm really happy I went through that phase, because now I can very confidently say that my grades don't define who I
Yeah,
am.
I feel like the common theme among three of us, and I feel like probably a lot of people first year, is like, it's a complete shattering of your self-image. Like, whatever you come in thinking you are, it kind of shattered it in a way. Like, like, if you came in thinking that, you're this guy who can, like, who's really good with logical reasoning skills and you can easily learn things quickly and get good grades. Or if you came in thinking, well, like my habits are really good. Or if you came in thinking, well, you know what, like I'm just naturally smart, I'm just gonna party and still get good grades. Or like whatever the fuck you came in thinking, in some way it shatters it. And like you're sort of left with the pieces after first year to like sort of pick up and see like, okay, what the hell is this piece? Like it's very
Yeah.
disorienting.
And I think so that's the interesting part. If first year is like destroying your self image, second year is getting over that shock and actually learning engineering or why you came in. And that's like our 2A term. 2A EC is insane.
Yeah.
They changed it up recently, but our term had 7 courses in it. All full credit courses except for one, I think was a 3 credit course.
Yeah, and all are probably, I would argue that the hardest courses of our whole degree is in that term.
Yeah.
Like are in that term.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, you just got over this culture shock. Now it's like actually
now it's just like straight
a
hell.
shock.
Like I didn't know what to do anymore. Like there was just stuff happening to me every week and I had zero time to process it. Like every time I had some free time to think about what was happening, there was a new deadline.
Mm-hmm, yeah. There's like, I want to speak a bit about this very good title Daivik has given this podcast. Like the amount of times, I can't describe to you the amount of times I almost came close to dropping out. So like in 1A, for example, I made friends in 1A and then after 1A, they dropped out. And like pretty much the only other person who I'd sort of kept in touch with other than them was Daivik after 1A. So I started hanging out more with Daivik after that. And then, so it's been very like, the thing with Waterloo is that the way streams work and like the way like the amount of people that end up changing programs or dropping out or doing something else makes it very hard to have like a sense of like a sense of community or like a sense of togetherness within like your class even. Like I still go to my class and I still sometimes feel like this isn't like whose class is this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Don't really know like there's like 100.
Yeah, and like that challenge is kind of might be a little unique to Waterloo because we have so much like for those of you who don't know, in Waterloo we have like in engineering everyone has co-op programs and like every 4 months we go on co-op and oftentimes we find ourselves off stream with people, even with people in our class, definitely people in other programs. So it becomes very hard. It becomes even harder to make friends.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Especially in other programs. And being EC, a lot of people are more introverted as well. So that's another challenge as is. But yeah, no, it was, so second year was interesting. Like 2A was, I think what 2A really taught me though, like balancing all of that together is how to work, like how to actually work and get things done in time, and to the point where I can just submit it and go like, okay, now on to the next one. It doesn't have to be perfect. And B, the second thing it taught me was no matter what stress happens in my life, I can overcome it. And I know that, like, and that took a lot of stress to get to that level where I can say that now. Like it was very stressful. I remember like when exam time came, I think for like 2 or 3 weeks straight, I used to leave at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and come back at 10 p.m. at night and just feel overwhelmingly depressed because like it was a struggle doing that every single day and knowing that it's nonstop. Like the moment I do study for one exam, the next one is about to start. But like I got through that period, and I think to the testament to the three of us and everybody in ECE, like if you can get past that, I really believe you can get past anything. And it's sort of like I wouldn't want to do it again, don't get me wrong, but it's sort of like a hallmark for us that like, we can look back and reflect and be like, wow, if we can do that.
It's like at least this is not as bad right now as that was.
Yeah.
And since we got through that, we can get through this.
Induction,
Yeah. But But like, I don't want to give the impression that like we're studying all the time, we're stressing all the time. Like with the amount of like debauchery that
Yeah,
took place over the years, like we have, especially 2A, like we had a lot of fun. Maybe a little less than our other terms that we lived together, but
yeah,
uh, like we're like normal kids. Like we procrastinate like everyone else, and
yeah.
like we end up leaving a lot of things like very close to deadline. And it was like that's how I've lived my whole life. That's how I lived it in high school. That's how I did it in middle school. That's how I'm still doing it like that. But the shock part of it was that like it no longer works. Like it used to work really well, and now it's just enough to like put you right over the edge of like maintaining. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't really work anymore.
Like I no longer get the
Yeah.
satisfaction. Like even if I like finish it within time, like I used to do the same thing as Vyom. That like yeah, I'll do it like a couple days before the deadline. It'll be fine. Like, but now like if I pick up an assignment 2 days before it's due, like I can barely get half of it done. It's just
Yeah.
even if I get the entire thing done, it's in such bad shape. Like it was not working.
Yeah, it's like towards the end of an assignment, we're like, well, at least we'll get like probably like we'll pass. We'll get like a 70 at least.
Yeah,
It's never how it used to be, where it was like, oh well, I know I killed this even though I only took like a day to do it.
yeah,
Yeah, it was interesting. And if second year is actually learning engineering, I think especially after 2A, but third year was really well. I'm not talking about your third year right now because apparently that sounds horrible. but
You're talking
but
about
at least
3A
for
and
me,
2B, right?
yeah, I'm talking about our second half of second year and 3A. That's really when the full university experience
Yeah.
rounded out for me. And it wasn't only about studying, but it was about actually being with your friends, having a good time at university, being a lot more worry free. Of course, you have
Hmm.
school and stuff, but it's when school became more of a facet of my life rather than a constant
Yeah, like
stress
we
on
were
me.
I think we were starting to
Um,
get used to, and also the fact that 2A was the hardest term. So it was also anything after that feels a little light. And
yeah,
we're becoming like we've become very used to, I would say, at this point with university. Like the first 2 years, it kind of felt like this is like a system I'm getting like thrown into and I have to figure my way through it. Now it feels like it's my system. Like I know I understand this shit. Like I know what I have to do. Like as much as I might not like it, I know what I have to do to get through it. And
yeah,
honestly, I think a big part of why we don't do things properly here is that I personally, for me, I think I've lost faith in the system.
Yeah, so just a quick PSA. The podcast sort of becomes structureless after this point, and we keep jumping from topic to topic, sort of go off the rails. So if you're looking for something a little more concise, I'd probably recommend going to another episode, but just wanted to give that heads up for the following sections.
Like um, I don't really believe that our department has our best interests at heart. So for me, no, I genuinely don't. And because of that, like, why
yeah,
should I go to class? You know what? Like, if you're gonna tell me I have to figure it out myself anyways, why should I go to class? And if you're telling me that these labs are actually useless, but I just have to do them because suck them up, because what university is teaching you is that sometimes you have to do shit that might not teach you stuff. And then it's like, okay, well, I'll do it my way. Screw you guys. I'm gonna, I'm gonna wake up late. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want, and I'm gonna get through this my way. And I'm gonna do whatever the hell I care about. Like that's sort of what I transitioned into, where it was like, okay, I figured out how to get through this system, but I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna
mm-hmm,
play by the rules.
mm-hmm. Yeah. First off, I love how this became a political statement in the middle of the podcast, but you know what? I'm good with it. Let's entertain it. But no, but I think like I agree with you to some degree where it's especially for some classes I felt like I can't only limit this to EC. That could be in any university as well. But I honestly believe like some of the professors and stuff, I just did enjoy learning from them. I thought I could do a better job learning at home away from them. And I think that's one of the things you have to recognize in
Yeah,
university is that like
don't
the
mention names,
convention.
guys. I still need to graduate. I still need to graduate
Yeah, I'm
from
not.
here.
I am mentioning names, but I think that's one thing you learn. Like personally, like the conventional learning style isn't necessarily the way to do it because honestly, sometimes the profs and stuff, it doesn't feel like they have your best interest in heart because it feels like they're
Yeah.
focusing more on their research and stuff. And so and in those moments, it might actually be better for you to just self study, and
Yeah,
I
I
don't
be on
definitely
your own.
agree with that.
I don't think any of them are malicious. That's not what I mean to say. What I was trying to say is a lot of them, like, I think they don't relate to us on like an emotional level. And then because of that, they think that they have to like toughen us or something like that. But like, I don't think they want like bad things for us, but I also don't think they understand, like, they don't connect with us emotionally enough to understand our like situation and our predicament.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that's a sign that the university has some work to do on that end because I don't think any student should be feeling that. But yeah, I can attest to that. I felt that
So
as
have
well.
I.
Like, you know, if
But
I'm being honest, if I have a problem in a course and if something happens, like even if it's my fault, I'm actually scared to email my prof because I'm thinking that what if I tell him about this mistake and he makes it worse for me? Like that's pretty toxic,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
something like that happened to me this term. I'm
and
not gonna say what, but I was very hesitant to like email my prof because I was like, he might screw me further.
if any prospective ECE, any prospective ECE are listening to this, they're about to switch as
Honestly,
soon as
do it.
possible.
No, seriously, do it.
Damn.
Switch if you can.
um,
Yeah, sorry that you cut out for a second. Hello?
Yeah, he cut out.
Yeah, so wait, when I was looking through the deadline just mentioned, we might as well talk about this one. I might as well throw that to the podcast. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, it's good. Actually, never mind, talk to you later.
It out now. But continuing on, yeah, I think like you're saying, I think it's a I think this apply. I think this can apply to a bunch of programs too, though. I don't think it's only ECE, and that's something you're gonna have to get used to. I think with universities, being able to adapt. That you like, especially in ECE, you don't really have a choice on the profs and the courses you choose. And I know there's other programs like that, so you're gonna have to adapt to whatever you get thrown at you,
yeah.
whether it's unfair or fair. And like I'm not saying it shouldn't be fair. It should definitely be fair. But sometimes that's just how it works, and you just have to
Yeah, like
figure your way
I'm
around
not
it.
saying it should necessarily be toxic so that you like learn to toughen up and like do whatever you need to do, but I think it's like fine. Like if you're interested in like what they teach in ECE and stuff, like I think it's fine. Like obviously it's not great. Like it hurts mentally, physically, or however, but I think it's still fine. Like if I didn't want to put up with this, I would not be putting up with this. I'm still here. I didn't drop out. I didn't switch programs. I'm still doing this. Like no matter how rough it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's
like
definitely
yeah.
value in its roughness, but
Yeah,
still, I think the
yeah.
department does need
I think
improvement.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I genuinely believe they're doing a good work.
I believe so
But
too. They are.
anyway, I think let's move this
Before
podcast
this gets too
a
hateful.
little back into the before hopeful or before this becomes a rant about EC because we can go on about it. Uh, so anyway, that was second year now, and third year, yeah, like we're saying, it's more it's more multifaceted. School's one facet, and life is actually another facet. That's not just school's not just your life. So that's a good summary of our program alongside
Mm-hmm.
our criticisms of it. I think going from here now, what are some of your guys' plans for the future, and how are you approaching it?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know, man. Like, for me personally, like, Well, my previous internship, I was doing a bunch of like data science and ML work, and I think like that was the
Mhm.
most fun that I had. Like in terms of work, throughout my internships. Like I'm not someone who particularly like takes a lot of value from like jobs and stuff, but like I still like part of me still likes having like fun problems to do. Like I just enjoy the rush that you get from solving a problem. And like I
Mhm.
think uh the problems that I was solving when I was doing that kind of work, uh that felt the most rewarding. So like I think for the future, like I'll probably be looking for like similar roles, and like taking courses
Mhm.
that like help me get there.
I think so. One of the most like I think one of the hardest parts, coming into Waterloo or any degree anywhere, honestly, is just figuring out what you want to do after.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much to
Yeah.
explore and try, and especially like with our co-op. So we have six. To give you some background, we have six co-ops at Waterloo that we do during a degree, and just trying to figure out like with those six co-ops we want to do. Even though six sounds like a lot, it's hard because what ends up happening is you try like you do one software development co-op or one QA co-op, and then that's like the co-ops you get in the future as well, because that's where your job
Yeah.
experience lies.
Yeah.
So not getting sucked into this whole thing that I this is the road I'm going and this is what I'm doing is really tough.
Yeah.
And even in other programs, like if you don't have those internships or you did internships outside, it's really hard to get that perspective of how a job is without actually doing an internship in it or getting that
Yeah.
experience. So I think it's an interesting discussion of, how do you find out, how do you narrow down what you want to do, and B, how do you know that, or not know, but how do you start figuring out if this is something you actually want to do long term?
Um, I have I have a weird take on this,
Okay.
but I think the simple answer, and this is true for me, and I think it's probably true for everyone, is that you can't. You cannot figure out what it
Mm-hmm.
is you want to do, especially for long term. And I I think the most valuable thing I think I have gained through my university years is that I started to trust, like, I started to trust my intuition, um, rather than relying completely on my logical reasoning. Like intellect, I came in thinking that intellect is everything. And now I've started to realize that, like, you cannot, like, there is no end goal with intellect, right? It just goes on forever and ever. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that here's how I'm taking it right now. Honestly, I have no idea what lies in the future for me, but um, I know at this moment what I want to do, and I have to do it and see. And if it works, then I like every moment you have to listen for what to do in the next moment. You cannot build your life around like, okay, well, because I'm enjoying this now, I'll enjoy it for the rest of my life. There's no guarantee of that. And that's okay. You just do what currently makes sense to you, and then you recalibrate, and then you listen again, and then maybe if you listen deeply, maybe your body will tell you that like this isn't working anymore, and then you pivot, and then basically you keep pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
I think until you listen freshly each moment, and if it tells you to pivot, you pivot.
Mm.
Right.
Well, yeah. I sort of agree with that. Yeah, like I like what you're saying. I think I fundamentally agree with it on every level, except that like it's very hard to do that. Like it's very hard to actually do it. It's not easy to just listen to what you're actually thinking,
Mhm.
Like like for me, like I've done a bunch of like different cups. Like I've pretty much like almost never done the same thing twice
Mhm.
in my internships, and it's always like, okay, like that wasn't it. I'll move on to the next one. and it sort of made me realize the same thing. Like I'm probably not going to achieve the satisfaction that I'm looking for in the search. Like the satisfaction probably lies somewhere else. So, but I need to sustain myself. Like I need to make money. I need to have a job. I need to gain experience.
Yeah, and
I need to apply
and I
myself.
think that is part of your truth right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I agree with you. Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that like we shouldn't have plans. What I'm trying to say is that we need to be able to drop our plans if at any moment we hear that those plans they're not true to us anymore.
I see. Yeah.
Is all I'm saying. Like it's like, yes, I completely agree. Like if you really want my practical plan, it is to get a job soon after I graduate, because I would like to save up money for some projects that I want to work on. And like that might not be true anymore when I graduate. And if that's not true anymore when I graduate, then whatever is true then will be true then.
Like, don't set it in stone that I have to do this. I think be open. Like, I think what you're trying to say is like just be open to to just different things. Like you don't know what you want to do, and that's okay. Just make sure you're open to that. And if there's something you think you liked or that you would like for the rest of your life, and it turns out you don't, that's okay.
Exactly.
That's just part of the
like
process.
What I'm saying is the reward isn't what you get from listening to yourself. Like if you listen to yourself deeply, the reward isn't where that voice will lead you. Like just being able to listen to it is itself the reward. So regardless of where it leads you, like I'm not saying that if you're able to listen to your guts, you'll be successful. Like I'm not claiming that at all. What I'm claiming is that if you practice, if you get better and better at listening to your guts, wherever it leads you will be okay with you, because at least you listen to your gut.
Yeah, no, I think so. Like I just recorded my podcast with Sid yesterday, and that's something he really believes in as well. And that's one of the things he learned is that. And by the way, if you haven't checked that out, you can check that out. It's the previous episode, but yeah, no, I think that's something like he really believes in. And that's what he learned, that to just trust his gut and do what he thinks is right to do in the moment. And one of those things was a short film you guys did over the summer, which we can definitely talk about in a second. But I think it's essential for people to realize that at a certain moment, if you feel like it's right to do something, then you should do it. And only like if you feel like it's right. Of course, don't do something stupid, because like don't do something like, I don't know, like go swear at your prof or something. Don't do that because it feels right. But like have that restraint, but follow what you think you should do.
Honestly, like Sarthak said, it's in practice, it's hard to listen to that voice that guides you, but that's also okay. Like if you try to, like, we're not going to be able to fully listen to it. And we at times we might not hear it at all. And in those times, do what you need to do. And when you realize you've made a mistake, pivot, change your direction. And like, we're going to make mistakes, right? We're not going to be able to, we can't clearly hear what the right direction is, and we're going to make mistakes. And we need to accept the fact that we're going to make mistakes.
Yep. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's something like very important.
Yes, sir.
Very important that like first year taught us. Like you are gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna be perfect every time. And like you have to accept it. Like the more you try to reject it, the harder it gets.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, and this, I guess that brings up another question. Is the process of finding a purpose of what you want to do, or a purpose in what you want to achieve, or what you want to do in your life, and then enjoying what you are doing. And I know this is something we talked about in the past before, but even if you're not doing something necessarily that you like, but like still getting some enjoyment out of it, Um, that's its own. That's a whole nother
Right.
conversation. It's an interesting thought. I think it's like an interesting thing to think about. And it's like, how do we do that? But anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts, like, the process of finding a purpose and enjoying the work you
What do you
do.
think, Sarthak?
Let me think about this one. So personally, I think when I was younger, I used to like really enjoy coding and stuff. And as when I got older and like I had these like programming assignments and stuff, like I don't think this is fun anymore. But like I don't know, like I ended up in computer engineering, and like I'm gonna have to do a software job at the end of this. Like I don't think it mattered at that point that if I liked it or not, if it was fun or not. So like I think for me at that point it wasn't that like this is not like coding is not fun, so I'm not gonna do it. It was for me it was like I have to look for other places that are part of this where I can find joy. I find joy in solving puzzles and stuff. So like I used to look for that. Like I enjoy debugging now because like I have to look for stuff that that's causing problems. It's sort of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't particularly enjoy creating like the fastest algorithm to do something, but like it's just something that it's a little. I don't know how to describe it, but like you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
I
like
get that.
fun might not be the activity itself, just might just be some part of it. You just have to like hold on, and you'll find it eventually. Everything's sort of fun.
If I were to
Yeah.
answer this, I sort of have to preface by saying this is something I struggle a lot with. And I always have throughout my whole life struggled a lot with it. I think the very, very first thing I ever wanted to be was probably a soccer player. And then the second thing I probably ever wanted to be was an astronaut. And I've had thousands since then, bro. And I think I think I'm slowly coming to understand that what you want to be changes from where you are right now in your life. And there's no reason to believe that it won't in the future, considering how much it has changed in such a short lifespan that I've had. I have no reason to believe that it won't continue to change. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I think what I'm slowly starting to uh, here's what I think that finding a purpose might this is what it means to me. I really enjoy programming, and I actually really like out of all the co-ops I've had where I've been programming, I have really enjoyed them. I've had 4 co-ops as a software engineer, and all of them I especially enjoy the ones where I have freedom and I can create my own like projects and use like creative problem solving to create them. But to be honest, I haven't really disliked any of the jobs. Like I never dreaded going to work. Uh, Mostly because I made friends with the people around me at work. Uh, but I also like enjoyed programming. Like Sarthak said, it's rewarding. Uh, but this is where programming falls short for me. And this is where kind of software engineering falls short for me as well. I have to think of it like this. Because I know that what I want will change, I have to look at what won't change. And for me, I think what won't change is yes, I can go after what I want, which will change, or I would like to try to be able to figure out what I can give to this world before I leave. Like what is like out of all possibilities of things I can be, what should I be that the world needs me to be right now? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like sure, I can be a software engineer, but it doesn't feel right for some reason. And I think the reason it doesn't feel right is not because it's not fun when I'm programming. I think the reason it doesn't feel right is something inside me is telling me that, you know what, this is not what the world needs from you right now. Like, I don't really believe in software engineering. Like, I don't really believe that that's my calling in life. And
Yeah,
how you figure that out,
sorry.
how you figure that calling out, I have no idea. I think you just have to. I mean, I'll let you know the day I figure it out. But
Do things for your call, you know.
Hey, man, I'll be right here. But yeah, no, I think that's the interesting part about it, right? That, like you're saying, what you want to give to this world before you go. I think that's a big part of it. What do you want your legacy to be? And that's not from the perspective of people worshiping you. No, I'm just saying, how do you what do you want to give to this world? Because the world has given so much to you.
I feel it more like I don't think there's anything I can give to the world. Like, I don't think there's anything I have to give, but I feel it's more like it's not even that I have to be successful in some way or leave a legacy. It's more
Exactly.
What feels natural to me. Like, as much as I like software engineering, it doesn't come natural to me. Like that's not something that like to me it feels contrived. It doesn't feel like something that's inherent. Like, I don't think that the best use of my personality, my nature, and my skill set is software engineering. That's what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like software engineering would sort of be selling what my particular like set of interests, hobbies, skills, whatever the fuck is. It kind of feels like it's not completely in line with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not necessarily that, oh well, I want to be this, I want to be that, but it's just the fact that it doesn't quite feel right. And I don't know if anything. I mean, certain things feel more right than others right now. But in terms of long term, I really have no idea.
I guess that's the $1 million question, right? Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting topic. Like you're saying, what comes natural to you, and what this feels right. That's a big hard. It's a hard thing to grasp, and it's something we're grasping every single day and trying to figure out every single day. And I think that's one thing. I don't know about. I can't speak to when you get older if you figure it out, but I know as college students, that's one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest things to figure out. One of the biggest things college really asks you to do, and what you start thinking about. And I think with that, one of the hardest balances we have is keeping the pursuit of material goods in check when we're deciding these type of things, or just in general. I think a lot of people in our generation get caught up in this. I want to own a private jet. I want to own a big mansion. I want to own a Mercedes. I want to, be able to go to this $1 million UFC fight. And that's something, don't get me wrong, I get caught up in this type of stuff too. But I truly believe it's something you have to know.
Like, you have to be aware that that thing is also temporary. Like, yeah.
That thing is temporary. Yes. And I think the biggest issue I see with it is that people believe that the material goods will solve their problem. And I know, like, the old saying is money will not, money doesn't buy happiness. But it's honestly something people struggle with and same thing here. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I'm saying, this is something I'm struggling with too. I haven't attained self-fulfillment by any means. Don't get me wrong.
So let's talk about why you think we struggle with it. Like, why is it attractive? Like, the reason we struggle with it is because some part of us wants it, right? And like, even though me and you and Sarthak might know that like it's transient and that like it doesn't really change how we feel, right? Why do you think it still attracts us?
Yeah, I think just because it's coveted by other people. And, I think a lot of people from their childhood itself have just been told to keep money as such a big focus in their life, which is fair enough. I mean, obviously you need money to live, but I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's just interesting. I think this is one of the biggest problems of our generation is that we're becoming so individualistic that I need this, I need that, rather than like in the past having that group mentality that how can I provide for others. I think that's like a big shift that's happening right now, and I don't think people are realizing that they're becoming individualistic. And like, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's just an interesting thing to look at and see that that's where a generation is really going towards, rather than a collective going towards an I. How do I benefit?
I think it loops all the way back to us being very much like even me, you, Sarthak, all of us being very obsessed with what I want. Like even when we talk about goals and achievements, it's always like what I want. And like oftentimes we miss how absurd life can be. Like we can sit here talking about figuring out a purpose, but the reality is that like especially with like the times right now, a lot of people are dying, right? And it's kind of crazy to think that I think it's when we're young, we tend to think that there is something in life we have to figure out, and like in the future, I will figure it out. But I think the absurdness of it is that maybe that's not true. Like maybe there isn't something to figure out, and maybe I will never figure it out. And like to my death day, I'll be as like confused as I am today. But I kind of live in like a pretense that one day like I will figure something out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sarthak, what do you think?
Yeah, I cannot hear him anymore.
Hello, friend. Hello. Can you still not join?
Okay, technical difficulties again. This is gonna be a weird podcast. I don't know what's happening, but honestly, if you come this far, I think you can expect anything. So, continuing where we were recapping about how our generation is becoming a lot more individualistic rather than a collective, and the pursuit of material goods that ultimately comes with that. And so I was asking Sarthak what his opinion on was it, because we heard Vyom's recently. So Sarthak, what was your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I definitely agree that we are like consumed by like materialistic goods. Like we all want the latest iPhone. We all want to wear AirPods. We all want like nice clothes and stuff. Like we all want that, and like part of it, like we wouldn't be doing it if we like didn't want it, right? Like as Vyom said, like part of us does want those material goods. Like I'd be lying if I said I don't want more money. Yes, I want more money, but like part of me also knows that like more money won't like get me happiness. It's like like they say like money can't buy you happiness, but like it can make your problems go way easier. And like I would like my problems to go way easier. Like that would be nice. But yeah, like cuz we are motivated by our own personal gain, right? Cuz like it's my money. These are my things. So like as a result of that, like we just tend to become more individualistic. And like I guess like I don't know, like it's weird because we're in a bubble, right? Like we're in Waterloo. Like most of the people we interact with are like just like us. Like they're in some STEM program doing exact same things we do. So like it's hard to find like a sense of like togetherness here, and where everybody's competing for the same jobs. It's hard to look out for somebody's best interest when they're competing against me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Like, if we want to talk about it, like I just see that's the thing. Where like not only with Waterloo though, it's a whole generational thing where it's like I need to be the best of the best. right? Like, I need to prove everybody that I can do this. I want to leave the best legacy on this world. And like that's like the mentality that our generations get. I want to have the gold chains and the nice cars.
I don't think I don't think it's just our generation. I'm not sure if it's getting worse or not, generation wise, but I think it speaks to how fragile our egos are. I think we secretly know that our egos are very like I think we secretly know our egos are not very real. And because of that, we have to constantly go on convincing ourselves that it is real. Because we're constantly, I think it might be because we fear that if not I, then what's left? Like, then what?
Yeah.
Like that,
what am I if I'm not these things?
yeah, like we fear the nothing, right? And part of the I is that, like, the I has its purpose, right? Like, survival is a big purpose for I, right? And but the thing is, I don't think we evolved to use our I for what we're using it for right now. You know what I mean?
Actually, can you elaborate on that, dude? I'm a little confused.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I did not know what you meant.
No, like if you read about evolution, right?
Yeah.
The ego did come at some point. Well, we don't exactly understand what the ego is, but at some point we became more self-aware, and the I mentality really helps us survive. Right? Like in a survival situation where I need food, I need water, I need shelter, right? That's very important for personal concern. Like, if you don't have a concept of I, then you might actually not survive from an evolutionary standpoint, right? But I don't think that, like, what we're using it for now when it comes to like competition, fame, money, I don't think this tool, and I think ego is a tool, I don't think this tool was developed for this job. Like, it didn't evolve for it to be concerned with the type of things it's concerned with now. That's just an interesting thought. I'm not sure if that's true.
It's hard to disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, it's honestly like I think when it comes to keeping things into perspective, one of the things to realize is that, like, your ego, I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of people associate their ego with themselves, which, I mean, fair enough, but I now tend to think it's two separate things. And the ego is more of a thing I satisfy with these things. But why? Like, why am I satisfying that ego? And why am I letting it control my life? Because I don't think my ego is just me. I think there's a separate facet of me that shouldn't just be defined by my ego. And so when it comes to the pursuit of material goods, one of the questions that I end up thinking to myself is, why am I so insistent to satisfy the ego and do these things? What am I actually going to gain out of it? Like, if I have a bunch of money, I have the fast car, I have the mansion, like, outside of satisfying my ego, how is this going to help me develop to be a better person or satisfy me in other ways? I don't know.
Well, I want to put up something controversial.
Okay.
Is becoming a better person any better or worse than acquiring more material goods? Like, is that not just the same thing in a different, like, packaging?
Is it?
Is it not?
But,
like, isn't it just like you trying to become something better or like more or acquiring more or whatever? Like, is it not true that like there is a possibility that there isn't something you have to become? Right? Like what, like have we considered that we might not like, have you considered that there might not be like that trying to become a better person might just be another form of like trying to,
satisfying your own ego?
or even just like trying to achieve things so you feel more whole. But like, what I'm saying is, in the end, that might also be a hollow trip.
No, I think one really interesting thing we have to think about in this whole thing is, what does better even mean, right?
Yeah.
My definition of a better is completely different than somebody else's definition of better. Because what does that? That means you're at a different, more uplifted, like, you know, from your opinion, like more uplifted state than you were before, right? Whether that be with money, with your pursuit of work, happiness, etc. Like, what does that really mean? And so it's interesting when you think about the philosophy of that, and why do we do the things we do, right? What are the motivations behind it? Yeah, it's just an interesting thought.
Yeah. I genuinely do not know why we do the things we do, because like it's so much easier not to do things. But like we still do them, you know? Like it would be so much easier to like not work on any of my assignments, but like is fear something that motivates me to do them? Because like if I don't do them, I'm gonna fail, or like I don't know why I do them. Like I'd like to say it's fear.
So if we start going more into that type of, like, into that example, right? So this is the fear of failing, which inevitably goes to all of our inherent pursuit for material goods. Because let's be honest here, almost everybody, I don't think like none of all, definitely the three of us are in that boat, and like I think almost everybody's in this boat. But like essentially, that pursuit of getting material goods inherently is the thing that's scaring you, because if you fail, you're not able to fulfill that pursuit, because if you fail,
well,
you might.
I think it might not just be that, David. I think it might not just be like, I think it also has to do with a sense of duty, right? Like, and I think here's another thing that makes you feel whole. The fact, just knowing that you are useful to someone for something, right? Like even in a family sense, societal sense, or whatever, right? We have certain duties, right? So like as a student, our duty is to learn. As a son, or we have many duties as a son to our parents, right? And like as a sibling, we have duties. And then there's all these cultural roles that inherently have duties associated with them. And I don't think it's as simple as it just being material. Like to me, failure also has a lot of like that aspect associated with it. You know what I mean? Like it is my duty to my parents to try my best.
Yeah.
Okay. But where does this? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it is. It isn't just fear for sure. Yeah, like I'm sure fear is part of it, but like I agree with Vyom. Yeah, like it has to. There is also a sense of duty. Like I picked up this degree, so I have to finish it. I can't just like drop it, you know.
But I guess the question I have to pose now is, where does the sense of duty come from, right? Like, I know you're saying that, like Vyom just said, the sense of duty comes from his parents. That, you know, so is that sense of duty to give them a better life than they've had, and where does that come from? I guess that's
I think duty comes.
Where's the underlying motivation?
Well, duty comes from societal construct for sure. I think, but that doesn't make it any less. That doesn't make it any more. That doesn't make it perverted. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times people use, oh well, that's a societal construct, as like a perverse thing. Like, oh well, that's like, that has no value. It's just a societal construct. But I think societal constructs have a lot of value to them, in a sense that in this existential struggle of like figuring out what I am, who I am, or like what I want, which direction to go into, which is, I think, what you're getting at when you're saying how we're moving towards individualism. Our relationships and our connections with the rest of our community, family, friends, gives us a sense of duty in a sense that, there have been, I'm sure we've all had dark times where we felt useless or we felt like we're not good for anything, right? But these duties, I think, are there for that. So that at least we can feel like I may not know anything about this world. I may not know what direction I want to go in, but at least I know that I can pick this stone up from A and place it on B.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Just having some sense of like, okay, well, I am useful to someone.
Like a sense of I think like you're saying, a sense of purpose, and I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Sort of wrapping that first question, is that if we can't it's hard for somebody to figure out what the sense of the purpose of this life is, right? So we start making that purpose based on other people. That, okay, my purpose right now is to provide this to another person. And I think that's where that concept of duty comes into play. That you're making your purpose to do these certain things for these people at that moment. And that's how you're defining your life's purpose. It's just an interesting thought. I know. I know we're getting
We're getting very deep, yeah.
We're getting very deep, and honestly, like, if you're still listening in, man, like, welcome to the club. You're part of our friend group as much as we are now, because this is like the real deep recess.
Yeah, hats off to you.
Hats off to you, man. I'll probably have to put a disclaimer for this one. It's very informal, but if you want in, you want in. But anyway, it's just an interesting, like, it's just interesting. I don't know how to explain.
Isn't interesting.
What isn't interesting? Yeah, man. It's I think so. Like, there's this old Sanskrit saying, or a Sanskrit word called Maya, and yeah, I know a lot of people are named Maya, but what the meaning of Maya is illusion, and it's just an interesting thought of how many people get caught up in this illusion of the world, that they must obtain certain things. They can get caught up in this Maya, in this game, that I must keep advancing in my career. I must keep getting money. But they never stop and think of why they're doing that and why they're pursuing this Maya. Because at the end of the day, none of that is going to matter, right? Like, it might matter for your lifetime, for sure, but at the end of the day, like, it all ends. And that's not to say in a morbid way. That's just the truth. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, it's sort of like, I know it might sound a little crazy, but I think it's sort of beautiful in a sense, that whatever is created ends. It's the loop. Everything in this world is a loop, then just a constant. And it's just an interesting philosophical. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hell if it didn't end, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to formulate my words, because now we're reaching the recesses of words. Like, what words can describe?
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason we continue to get caught in the illusion of the world, as you say it is because it's possible that there is really nothing else to do other than to get caught in the illusions of the world. And then maybe at some point realize, oh, well, I'm caught now, and then coming out of it. And then once you're out of it, well, what are you going to do now?
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know, it's just an interesting idea that might be like, that might be why the illusion is there, because without the illusion, there would be nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think.
Like it's one of those questions of I would kind of phrase it like this: if nothing matters, then what do you do? Well, I think what I do is I make believe and I pretend that something matters, and I do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like obviously the first question that people are going to ask is, what do you do? Like, if you're not going to advance your career, if you're not going to do all these different things, what do you do? And that's a fair question, man. I don't know, but
It's hard to answer because like I don't think I've ever done something that wasn't along those lines.
but at the same time, I think one important thing to realize, regardless, like I'm doing it too. Don't get me wrong. Like it's a part of life, but I think the one thing to realize is that it is an illusion. I think the moment you start thinking that this illusion is everything and that you honestly that you're immortal, that's like one of the biggest things that people get caught up in.
But here's the challenge with this, right?
Yeah.
This is not something you can realize by just reading or listening to something like this. This is a type of realization that slowly just comes somehow. Who the fuck knows how?
Mm-hmm.
That's the funny thing about it. Like I can't force this on someone, right? Like no matter how much you explain, and like I'm sure there's I'm sure there's things we don't really get that no matter how people explain to us, we'll never get. And it's sort of funny how at different points in your life, different things make sense and different things don't make sense. Like um I think once you've been marinated enough, you 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 can see things, you can really see messages that you were not ready to see before. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure there's people who will listen to what me, you, and Sarthak are saying, and it might viscerally make sense. Like it might make sense on an intellectual and philosophical level. But would they really get it? Like or would they really get what we're trying to get at? And the truth is they might not.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna call it here for the podcast. I think we're going way deep into it. If you're still here, man, I hope you enjoyed it. It went really philosophical real quick, but it covered all different topics. It's definitely a lot different than the other podcasts. And honestly, I don't know if any other podcast episode is going to be like this, because these discussions are these are some of the only two people I actually have these type of discussions with. But if they come back, you can definitely stay in tune for more of this type of content if you're into it. And if you're not, well, have
Sucks
fun.
To suck.
Sucks to suck. Have fun with the other episodes. Me and Sid did a lot more concise one yesterday. So if you're into that type of stuff more, check that out. It was a pretty good episode. But if not, hey man, welcome to the club. Like I said.
Thanks, Daivik, bro. Thanks for having us. Before I go, I just want to plug myself because I'm very much plugged into the Maya right now. Me and Sid recently worked on a movie. If you guys could watch it, it's our first short film. Hopefully I can get Daivik to put a link in his description for it.
Yeah, I got you. I even put one
$20
on the podcast yesterday, so I'll just.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And continue to watch these podcasts.
Cool. Thanks for my plug too. Sarthak, you have any
Plug in a plug.
Sarthak, you have any closing remarks, my guy?
No, it's pretty fun to be on here. I think at first when you said you were gonna make a podcast, I said I'm never gonna be on this, but well, here I am.
Well, you're probably thinking, is this going to be a regular discussion about, how do you get jobs? No.
No, I knew going into this wasn't going to be regular. But yeah, I think that's why I came into this, because I knew it wasn't going to be regular.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, guys. Until the next one. Peace out. Thanks for enjoying, and have a good day.
Thank you. Right. God bless.